we're in the cell membrane. Cells have different structures, depends on the cells. Some of them look like a ball. Some of them look like brick, like this is the epithelium cells for protections. And some of them look like a tree. This is neuron. Neuron is the cell in the brain, and they have different structure. So cells have the, if we say you were the cell, your skin is the cell membrane. So that's the cell membrane. And your inner organs, each organ has different functions. So inside the cell, the organelles are like the organ in human body. So each organelles have different function. And you have a head, okay? In the cell, the head is called the nucleus, and inside they have DNA. So that's the basic structure of cell. And today our main focus is the cell membrane. So that's like the skin of your body. So cell membrane is made of phospholipid. Last time we talked about the biomolecules. The lipid, one of the lipid called phospholipid, have a head, hydrophilic head. It likes water, and two fatty acid tail, hydrophobic tails, they don't like water. And that's the main molecule used to build the cell membrane. And because the inside is called ICF, intracellular fluid, outside is called ECF, extracellular fluid, both of them are water. So it turned out the head like water, the tail does not like water. So the strategy is, okay, let's flip it over, make a double membrane. So cell membrane is phospholipid bilayer. It's two layers of phospholipid. They make the head like water facing out and facing in, facing the ICF, facing the ECF, and those two tails, hydrophobic tails, they are hidden inside. And not every molecule can dissolve in lipid. And because the cell membrane is made of phospholipid, which is a lipid, some molecules can go through the cell membrane, like water, like cholesterol, non-charged particle. But others, they could not go through the cell membrane, like ions, they have charge, and big macromolecules, like proteins, they could not go through the cell membrane. And if the cell needs them, they need to find a mechanism to move them in or out of the cell. And that will be our next topic. That's the membrane transport. But today we focus on the cell membrane. So what molecules can go through the cell membrane without any helper? Small molecules. Water is one. Second, small uncharged particle like the oxygen, CO2, the gas molecule. So gas molecule in your lung, the oxygen go to your, through the lung to your blood. Simple diffusion, just diffuse through the lung to your blood. And CO2 will diffuse from your blood back to your lung, simple diffusion, small uncharged particle, because they just go through the cell membrane without any helper. The third one, lipids. And today we'll use the phospholipid as an example. Lipid can go through the cell membrane without helper. So all the other molecules, they need helper. And the helper is called membrane proteins. These are the proteins, those pink ones. And membrane proteins, they have a lot of functions. One function is transport protein. And they also have the other functions, like this protein, this one, it connects to those carbohydrate. It's called the glycoprotein. So their function, these glycoproteins, their function is for the cell to recognize each other. Apparently, every living cell, we all come from one cell. When the sperm meet the egg, there's one cell. Fertilized egg is one cell. And then do the mitosis, they start to divide. So every living cell in your body, this sugar, the glycoprotein connect to sugar. This sugar structure is identical for your body cells. And your immune system use this to recognize you. That's you. And if they look at this, it's not you. Okay, well, they will attack the cell. That's how they identify the foreigner. Most of the time, they do a good job, but sometimes they make a mistake. That's when we have the autoimmune disease. Your immune system think think your body cells is foreigner, they attack it. That's autoimmune. Okay, so membrane proteins, they have a lot of functions. We talk about the transporter protein, ion channel. Channel is one of them. So this is channel is mainly for ion to go through. And these channels is actually gated. They have a gate to close. You can open the gate, make the molecule go through. And this called the transporter. Transporters, ion channels, they have the same function, but transporter is for a little bit bigger molecule, like glucose carrier. That's a transport protein. And we just talk about the glycoprotein. Glycoprotein is functions is for the cell to recognize. So they connect to the carbohydrate. And each living cell, the carbohydrates structure will be different. And this one is called the receptor protein. And when your body release insulin, insulin is a hormone, and insulin will bind with insulin receptor. So their target cells are the one with the receptor, and they will bind with the receptor, and the receptors, the protein inside part will start to activate the other protein inside the cell. So the trigger one, trigger another. It's like you pass the note to your friends, your friend pass it to your friend's friend, keep passing on. It's called the signal transduction. So receptor proteins, it's one of the proteins function. So protein in the cell membranes, they're like windows and doors. So if you think this house, the wall, that's the cell membrane. The windows, that's the protein, especially those transport protein, because you can open the window and air can flow in. So those transport protein like ion channels, glucose carrier, and they're like the doors and windows. Okay, so one important group of membrane proteins, they allow the molecule to go through. So channels, carriers, these are the functions of the membrane proteins, like glucose carrier, they make glucose to go through. Ion channels make ion to go through. And some proteins, they are receptors. So they will bind to hormones. We talk about insulin will bind with insulin receptor, these pink ones. If this green is insulin, this pink one is insulin receptor. Also neurotransmitter, the chemicals released by your neurons. Neurons are the cells in your brain called neurotransmitters. They will bind with neurotransmitter receptors. Like dopamine bind with dopamine receptor. And glutamate will bind with glutamate receptor. Each neurotransmitter have their own receptor. And some membrane proteins, their functions are to glue the cells together. Like this is example called the tight junction. For example, your skin cells, when I pinch your skin, I won't be able to take a piece of skin off. The reason is they're glued together. They all glued together by the tight junctions. If not, well, I can take a piece of skin off. So the tight junctions, they glue the cell together. Not just your skin, also your digestive system, your small intestines. The bacteria won't be able to go through the gap between your small intestine cells going to your body because they have those tight junctions. If they are not tight enough, bacteria can go through. That's called the leaky gut. Okay, and some membrane proteins, they allows the cell to attach. They connect to the cytoskeleton. Cytoskeleton is like the bone in your body, but it's the bone system in the cell. And there's another one that connect to the cytoskeletons, extracellular matrix. So they can maintain the structure. Sometimes they can create movement. And some proteins are enzymes. We talk about enzymes. They can help those chemical process to happen in the body. So some proteins are enzymes. So membrane proteins has a lot of different functions. So here are the summaries of all those membrane proteins we talk about and their functions. Okay, and cell membranes, we talk about phospholipid, we talk about proteins. The third molecule is called cholesterol. Cholesterol is a lipid. And I told you, okay, every time you see the full ring structure is a cholesterol. So this yellow, they are cholesterol. Their basic function is to fill the gap and stiffen the cell membrane. Sometimes some textbooks say make the cell membrane more flexible. I think it's all correct. Just make the structure better. So every time they see a big gap, they fill it, cholesterol. So these are the three membrane basic structures of the cell membrane. And because cholesterol is a lipid as well, so we talk about this, the birth control patch is inside is high dosage of female sex hormone. So it can go through the cell membrane because the lipid, like lipid, so it can diffuse through the cell membrane. That's why the high dosage of sex hormone in the birth control patch can go through the cell membrane. Okay, and the last one is called the glycoprotein. Glycoproteins, it connect to carbohydrate. All this blue part, they're carbohydrate, they're sugar. And their function is to allow cell to recognize each other because every cell in your body in the carbohydrate structure is unique to you. And that's why every patient that receive an organ, they have to match what? They match this. You could not find 100% the same unless you have identical twin because they all have some structural difference. So you can match 80%, 90%. The higher match, the better. The higher chance your immune system won't recognize it. So say if this person got a new kidney, the worst scenario is their immune system will recognize this, say, okay, this is not one of us, and they'll attack the kidney and turn out have rejection. The person will die if that happens. So they have to match. And the organ receiver in the whole life, they have to take the immune suppression medicine because they would need to make their immune system not as active. So they won't attack those organs. That's the function of the glycoproteins. Okay, so glycoprotein is for cell recognition, to recognize the foreign substance. So that's the basic structure of the cell membrane. Okay, let's stop here.